All right, Rob, let's get into some awards talk. So let's look at the MVP race. So odds are right now they have Shea in first, Jokic in second, Cade Cunningham in third, Wemby in fourth, Jalen Brown in fifth, and Luka Doncic in sixth. As far as the MVP race and the odds and all that,
Yeah.
what do you think? Like, who'd be your favorite right now?
I'd throw up Jokic to number one. I think the stats are, to me, just too much to surpass. I get it. Like Shea's gonna have some amazing averages from point standpoint. He's not leading the league in scoring now. I think that's Luca at this time, but I mean, he's been there consistently. He's in second, in scoring. They're the number one seed. I just think what Jokic has done, right, averaging a triple double, soundly leads the league in rebounds, leads the league in assists, um, almost 29 points a game. Kept them in the running with it, right? I think they've slipped to fourth right now in the West, and they've
Mhm.
obviously struggled since he's been back, which was interesting. They played pretty good without him. Um, but I just think it's too much. His just dominance is overwhelming out there on the floor. I think OKC has a lot of weapons. Denver, I think, is going to go the way he plays, and now obviously he can't say he hasn't played with an All Star anymore, which I think was the big
Mhm.
MVP take for him a
Yeah,
couple of
with
times
Murray,
that
right? Yeah.
that he has Murray. But I just think he's there. I'm not the listing how it stands, right? I think those are the best players. I think they're there. Um, Cade, I think, has had a tremendous season. Obviously, he didn't have a great game against the Spurs, but they come back and beat OKC the next night. I think he's been dominant in a lot of the matchups in the East that they've had, and if they stay, as the number one seed, I don't see why he'd fall out of the top three. You got Victor right there. I think he's struggled at times to be consistent on the offensive end, but he's also been on minutes restriction for much of the year. I think he's the odds-on favorite if he plays out to be the defensive player of the year. I'd say for me, I'd probably I forget was Jalen Brown above Luka Doncic in the ranking that you called out, or
Yeah, it was.
okay,
Yeah, Jalen Brown was fifth. Doncic was sixth.
that's where I leave Detroit being number one in the East, I get it. Jalen Brown, I just think the load he's had to carry and what they've done with this team and laps of Tatum, like I'd have him for sure in the top five, and it's tough, if you took, I think he's above Doncic just with how he's played and what they've done this season, surpassing kind of where everyone thought they were. I It's tough for me. I think he has probably been a more commanding player to me than even possibly Katie Cunningham, but I don't think I would have Jalen Brown maybe leapfrog Wemby if the Spurs are able to wrap up a number one seed. So it's tough. I think the
Mhm.
players are where they're at, but to me, Jokic has just continued to be like the most dominant force in the
So
NBA. If
your top
uh,
three, you got what? Jokic, Shea,
Jokic,
Cade.
Shea, and Cade, yeah, I think they've been the three best players this season.
Okay. Let's move on. So let's look at leaders for the defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
I don't actually have the odds for this one, but who would you have as your defensive player of the year?
He plays all the games. I don't think there's a question that Wemby is by far and away the best defender. I personally think he should have three Defensive Player of the Year trophies.
Right.
If he makes it this year, he should have won last year. Obviously, didn't meet the quota for games. I just don't. I don't think there's anyone in the world. There's anybody that impacts the game as much as him. We talked about in the Spurs segment, but just the disruption he causes on the floor for shots he doesn't block. Right? Like how many times do people not shoot shots that would have been blocked towards him and cause them to go outside? So I don't think it's far and away there. As far as the odds on, I think right now the top five you've got Wemby, Chet, Gobert, Scotty Barnes, who's just been coming up recently, and then Asur Thompson as the fifth. I'll call this out in the top 10. They do not have Steph Castle, and I think that is a travesty.
He's
He should
not.
be. He's not listed in the top 10
Oh,
odds right now for Defensive Player of the Year. I find it hard to believe that he could not be first team all defense. To me, I think he is a top five defender in the league, has shown that
mm,
consistently against a lot of great players. I get it. The Thompson twins are freak athletes. And maybe I'm seeing just the totality of what Steph Castle does, and I'm obviously rocking a Spurs jacket right now. But I just think that is so out of bounds that he is not considered a top 10 defender. I think Lou Dort is the 10th odds-on favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he
Yeah,
is so much better as a defender than Lou Dort. You got Bam
really.
Adebayo, Draymond Green, Evan Mobley, Lou Dort as the 6 through 10 odds for
So
that. But
as far as perimeter defenders, you got Lou Dort, you got the Thompson twins, you got Steph Castle.
and Scotty
Uh,
Barnes, I think Scotty Barnes at in the top 5 for it there, right? Like he's the probably best all around guy outside of like Victor. I think Chet and Rudy are obviously your inside defenders. I think Vic is not getting out there and guarding, but he's stepped up at times and
he's
got in
blocking
and
people on the
gets
3-point
down.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's doing everything. Scotty Barnes has definitely like risen up. I think seeing him as first team all defense would probably be great. I know he had a big steal at the end of the Spurs and Raptors game that helped them get a look at a final shot there. So good odds. I just for me that was when I called out. I was like, man, I think there is not a guard in the league that wouldn't tell you they do not enjoy having to step on the floor and go head to head with Steph Castle. So I think seeing that is a little out of bounds. I think if I'm picking a perimeter defender, he's maybe not as athletic as the Thompson twins are, but I think he's overall a better defender than they are. Outside of it, I think he's more gritty and tough than they are. So
Okay. Let's move on to another race. Let's look at the Rookie of the Year race. So I think everyone would agree this is probably a 2-man race with Cooper Flag and Con Knipple. Is it even close?
I think it's super close. I go back and forth on who I pick. I think the thing that's been thrown out, the analogy that's been thrown out a lot lately is if Con Knipple deserved to be picked second in the draft. I think he has been fantastic. I think he's leading the NBA in 3-pointers made. It's obviously, I think, the best, the most 3-pointers made by a rookie. He had a strong showing in the 3-point contest. He's going to be with Steph retires, if Clay's out of the league at the same time, right? He'll be the best shooter in the NBA for whatever amount of time those guys are gone, and he's here.
He's up there.
I think they were picked great where they're at, right? Like he's got the benefit of playing with LaMelo Ball, who can get him where he wants the ball. It's not a fluke. He's not getting 20 points a game off a catch and shoot, but he has others to take that load off of him, right? So then the fact that you got Cooper averaging 20 for the Mavs and doing everything, I think that shows just how great of a player he is. I think he came into the league and nobody really knew what he did great. They just said he's got a crazy motor. He's talented in all the areas, right? Like kind of what they used to say about Dwayne Wade, like not great at anything, but really good at a lot of stuff. And Cooper Flag with that has just said, yeah, like off of maybe not having the best jump shot, maybe not having a direct move, I'm going to average 20 and 6 and 4 for this team. And yes, they are floundering. They are going to have another high lottery pick come this year. So it's a toss up, right? Like I think overall, if you're talking about the best rookie, like the best rookie is Cooper Flag. And I think he's the most talented. Maybe the Hornets make the playoffs, right? And he averages 20 and 5 and 5. And that's a great pickup for him. I lean again towards Cooper Flag. I just think he's played that much better, and that hurts being a Carolina guy to pick one of the two guys as it. But to me, he's been the better. He's the better rookie. Excuse me. I don't want to say he's been the better rookie, but he is the better rookie to me.
Is there anybody you got basically fighting for that third spot behind those two?
I think Edgecombe has obviously in the beginning of the season, he came out the gate as if he was going to be the rookie of the year lock. He scored the ball well with averaging 15, 5 and 4. Again, you've got, he's a third pick. He's performed up to standards. He's playing in the backcourt with, another really rising star in Tyrese Maxey. You've got, Paul George on the team, although he's out. Then you've got Embiid and a bunch of other guys, and the Sixers have played really well lately. So I think like he's right where he is. I don't think it's I don't want to say it's not close, but I think there's a gap between Cooper and Khan, and then you step to VJ, you got your Derek Queen there. And then, I think Dylan Harper probably to me it rounds out the top 5. Cedric Howard's been hurt a little bit, not played. I think he's been solid for Memphis. Is going to be a big part of their future there. And then some of the other guys like Ace Bailey or Igor Demon off of the Nets. So
okay, all right. Well, so we'll move on to leaders for the NBA six-man. So I do have some names for this one. So I think last time some of the leaders were that they have in the running are Naz Reid, Keldon Johnson, Anthony Simons, and then Reed Shepherd. Those are the 4 big names. Do you have someone else in mind, or are these the main ones?
No, these are them, and I'm going to show San Antonio bias. I think this is Keldon Johnson. I think Naz Reid. You'd have to look it up. I know that
he's the favorite right now. Naz Reid, yeah.
He's the favorite by almost like 50%, right? Like I think he's up there. And I think most of that's off of what he averages, right? Like he is a high average, high usage rate. I don't think he'll hit any type of restriction where he's played or started too many games, but like Keldon Johnson has not started a game. So Keldon Johnson is a true six man
right there, right?
Off the bench. It is not, hey, we're going to start Naz tonight. He's fantastic. And obviously 2 years ago he won it. But I think you're a 6-man. You never should start. Like I think that should be the rule that you put into it is you got to come off the bench entirely and have minutes restrictions, right? But I think what Keldon Johnson has done, he is always a spark plug for the Spurs. I can remember many games where they have just died offensively. He's come in and it is the same. I'm going to find who's on me. I don't care if he is 6 inches taller than me. I'm going to back him down. I'm going to shoot a left shoulder right-handed hook over him, and I'm going to yell when I do that. And then I'm going to have some on everything. So to me, I think that's one I think Keldon should take. I think, again, he's just been a spark plug for a team that is knocking on the door of first in the West and then, possibly the best record in the NBA. Nothing against Naz. I just think they are, continue to be inconsistent as a team. He's had, more starts, obviously. I just think, for that, like Keldon Johnson just showed. And from them, I think there's a wide gap between them. I know Nickeil Alexander-Walker has done a really good job with Atlanta, but I just think, again, what the impact has been for Naz Reid or Keldon Johnson to the team's overall winning, to me, just kind of stands out. So.
Okay. Let's move on here to leaders for Coach of the Year. So some of the names I have here for Coach of the Year is J.B. Bickerstaff for the Pistons, Mitch Johnson from the Spurs, Mark Dagnall from the Thunder, Jordan Ott from the Suns, and we went and searched and we found Charles Lee for the Hornets because they're having a pretty good year. We know Coach of the Year is basically based off how well the team plays. It's kind of more of a team award than a coach. But, some of these teams are bigger surprises than others. Who do you think should win Coach of the Year as of right now?
I think this is Bickerstaff or Johnson. I don't see I get it. Mark Dagnall, like another great season with them. You guys won the championship last year. I think this is similar to like most improved player, right? Where what did they do? So when you had, John Morant win this off of, being rookie of the year or early on in his career and then becoming an all-star. I see it similar here. The caveat, I think, to the Pistons, and he's the odds-on favorite to win it right now. And I think that's been because they have had such a great record for most of the season. If they stay in first place, which the way they've played against everyone else in the East, I think they will. Like, I don't think they're going to give that. If Tatum comes back and the Celtics make some kind of jump, I don't see them losing that first place. I think he deserves it. They were a playoff team, though, so again, a couple of years ago, yes, they were floundering, 2 rough seasons, high draft picks, obviously. But I think they made a step last year. They made a big leap this year and where they were, but I think 6 seed last year, losing the playoffs to the Knicks, and then this year again, you get to go. You're running away with probably the regular season from the Eastern Conference perspective. I think fully deserving for him. I think besides that, Mitch Johnson and what the Spurs have done, right? 2 incredibly bad losing seasons, right? Where you get Wemby, you come back, you lose him for half the season. Now you put this amazing team together with Fox, and you have the emergence of Castle, and then Dylan Harper as a rookie. I think he just deserves it there. If the Spurs were to get into, let's say, the number 1 seed, and all of a sudden, they are first, first in the NBA possibly, then I could see the odds switching over there. Based on their work, I can't see if the Spurs get into first place in the West and we're able to stay there. I couldn't see a world where you would think that wasn't a bigger accomplishment than the Pistons getting second in the East. So, and for me, I think I'd round out my top 3. Really love what Joe Mazzulla's done with the Celtics. I get it; they've been a dynasty, they're a championship team. But this was supposed to be a gap year for them, kind of the same way Indiana is having a gap year. So for them to come out and play the way they have, they've got a ton of talent there. I'm not saying anything on Jaylen Brown, but I just think he's done a great job. And then you called it out, Charles Lee with the Hornets. I think they have done just an incredible job this year, especially in the last month or so, right? With how they've played. I think he's right outside he's right in the top 5. I think you got Jordan Ott for the Suns as well, who's there, another team that wasn't expected to perform the way they have.
I was thinking about the Spurs and kind of there were some questionable moves that Mitch Johnson did this year so far. One of them was bringing Wemby off the bench, for as long as he did, and people were questioning that, why is he bringing him off the bench? He needs to be starting. And there was also all these other guys that, came back from injury. And then at the beginning of the season, a lot of people were saying, hey, they need to trade De'Aaron Fox, or they need to trade one of these guards. And they stayed pat. They, stood pat. They kept all 3 of the, their big 3 guards, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle, and De'Aaron Fox. And it seems like, that type of talent, all wanting to be the guy as point guard, you would think that would create a division within the locker room. But somehow Mitch Johnson's been able to just kind of, they seem like a real tight-knit group, and, they love supporting each other and all that. I'm not sure if that's necessarily Mitch Johnson or is that De'Aaron Fox being a leader, but, I think that was pretty interesting how they were able all to just kind of coexist.
Yeah. No, exactly right, man. I think there was even, when Pop stepped down, obviously with health issues, and it was announced Mitch Johnson was going to be the full-time head coach. I think there were people who thought, is this the right move, right? We had seen so many of these top-tier coaches, Will Hardy, all these guys who have come from the Popovich coaching tree leave to other places. You see Ime Udoka's performance in Houston. You've got, obviously, I think Bickerstaff at one time was under Pop's tutelage, right? So all these guys, and then you have Mitch Johnson here who ascends to that space. We trade for De'Aaron Fox, and then it becomes is this the right guy to lead this team, right? From a Wemby perspective, hey, can he lead Wemby? And I think he's done phenomenal, right? And kudos to our GM, right, as well, of the Spurs, where it was easy to think, why wouldn't you trade De'Aaron Fox for in a package that gets you Giannis? Right. I think the world expected the Spurs to make that trade no matter what. And they stayed pat, probably to a lot of people's, anger. And when the Spurs had lost, 2 in a row, or they came out and lost the lead. And it was man, what is Mitch Johnson doing again? Right. Wemby was playing 20 minutes a game. I remember the NBA Cup where it was hey, it doesn't matter. He's going to sit the same minutes every time, and we're going to backload it so he can come back in. And I think that was the first game where he did that, right? Where Mitch Johnson kind of backloaded his minutes and didn't play him in the first quarter and brought him in the second. And, everyone was upset, and this is a national game. And then it worked. And then from there you had it. And then all of a sudden now you got Wemby playing 36 minutes against the Pistons in a really big game in February, right? So I think everything has come out to fruition. He's done a fantastic job. I think earned the ability to get the benefit of the doubt on whatever decisions he makes. You called it out. The other big thing, right, that I think people would say is Jeremy Sohan, right? And him sitting former lottery pick, right? And not some of the comments from Sohan on social media about maybe
threw kind of, I don't know if he threw Mitch Johnson under the bus, but he kind of just
he called it out, right? Maybe me and the coach just don't get along, right? And I think the Spurs are so deep, and the way they're playing is so different from what Jeremy brings to the floor. But that's also another big one, right? That comes out there, and a lot of these decisions were looked at by fans and NBA talking heads alike. Is like, hey, look, you've got this talent sitting on your bench, and you're not playing them, but it's worked out. The Spurs are rock and rolling right now. They're by far, the best team in the NBA, at least at this point. So it'd be interesting to see like kind of how they continue and what they do with the rest of the season now with the target on their back.
Yeah. Okay. Last thing, it is Friday. It's the weekend, so what are the games to watch this weekend? I know Sunday's got like a full slate. So what are you looking at?
Yeah, tonight we're Friday the 27th, right? You got Detroit, Cleveland tonight. That should be wrapping up in a bit. You got Denver and OKC as the late game. Saturday, nothing but Sunday, as you said. You've got at noon, starting off on ABC. You got Spurs and Knicks. Sohan revenge game comes up. So interesting to see.
We'll see.
Yeah, so you're in MSG. Obviously the last couple times the Spurs have played against the Knicks, like some really big games. You had Jalen Brunson 60-point game, Wemby 40-20 game. Then you had New Year's Eve, Wemby goes down hurt. Spurs are down 10 with like 3-4 minutes left in the game. Come back and win it on Julian Champagny record 3 night. So you've got that at noon, starting it off. Then you've got a great one in the afternoon, Minnesota at Denver. Which is huge. Minnesota always plays really, really well against Denver. They have not played great as of yet, or as of the last 10 for them, I'd say. So you got Denver, obviously, who struggled in their last 10, and kind of opposite, right? Like they're 4-6, and then you got the Timberwolves who are 6-4. But both teams kind of middling here, and that is a preview of if the playoffs started today, right? That's a first round matchup, 4-5. Nuggets.
And you know how? Ooh, imagine that first round.
That's crazy. I just think about it, right? Like you see the Rockets losing leads to the Knicks, and then all of a sudden, hey, they pop up into the 3 seed because the Nuggets just are struggling a bit. So, but you got that matchup early, and then a couple the nightcap. You've got Detroit, Orlando, which I think when you look at the standings, Orlando in 7th right now. So I think previously that would have been a 1-8 matchup for the Pistons, but still could be. With the Heat kind of gaining traction, so a possible matchup. I feel like that's always something that's there as an old Pistons Magic matchup. And then you've got after that you've got Philly and Boston, which will be a good one there to have. So that's the 2-6 matchup right now for them. But again, you got Sixers on a 3-game winning streak, and then the Celtics 8-2 in their last 10. So exciting basketball on Sunday. That's gonna be a good game, a good slate of games that day.
Yeah, definitely tune in. I know I'll be trying to watch it. We finally get some good weather here where I live, so I'll be outside, man, and watch these games. So, all right, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up there. So, for Buckets, Boards, and Banner, I'm John. This is Rob. Take a minute to like and subscribe our videos. We appreciate y'all watching. Y'all have a good one.